Well, so does this case demonstrate American arrogance? Are there double standards as far as US diplomats are concerned, the way they are treated here and the kind of treatment Indian diplomats get there? But also, are there serious questions that India also needs to answer in the way that this case has been handled? Joining us on the program tonight, we have former Foreign Secretary Kamal Sibal back with us this evening, former Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Vivek Karchu is here in the studio with us. Sudha Ramalingam, member of the PUCL and senior advocate, joins us tonight from Chennai as someone who has advocated that there is only one side of the story that's being projected here and that nobody is listening to the maid. Foreign policy and strategic affairs analyst Nitin Pai also joins us tonight from Bangalore. Mr. Sibal, let me ask you first, sir. Let's talk about the regret that has been expressed by John Kerry and what the Indians see as possibly conciliatory tones coming there from the US. Is that enough? This clearly needs to move beyond regret, doesn't it?
Well, you know, at one level one can say that the Secretary of State himself telephoning the National Security Advisor is a gesture in order to calm down things and indicate that they might be looking at this issue afresh to find a positive solution. On the other hand, it is a very mealy-mouthed kind of a regret that he's issued, but it's not very clear what he is regretting. And he could well be regretting that this unfortunate incident has occurred, for which responsibility could well be on the Indian side. I mean, you know, this kind of a vague regret doesn't mean anything very much. And he's also expressed concern that it will not affect the friendly relations between the two countries. At the same time, he's talked about protecting the rights of people like the maid in question, etc.
So you're saying it can be read
mixed
anyway.
Up kind of
okay.
Sorry?
You're saying it can be read in many different ways. You don't see it as a straightforward regret.
Yes. I don't think very important, but there's one very important point in this. It is far more important that we judge what the United States is doing by its actions. These statements do not mean anything very much, and the test will come very soon, as you've just now mentioned in your earlier talk with the foreign minister in the report that we have now transferred this diplomat to the PMI, and the U.S. State Department will have to issue a new diplomatic identity card for her, and if they do so, it will give her full diplomatic immunity, and then when she's asked to appear before the court, she can refuse to go there because she can claim diplomatic immunity.
That's right.
So if the State Department agrees to this, it will be a step forward in terms of diffusing the issue.
Okay, Mr. Karchu.
But let us see what happens.
Sure. Mr. Karchu, do you see this as heading towards a diffusing of the crisis now slowly?
I see that the US has acted in bad faith on this because it is the same State Department which Secretary Kerry heads, which colluded with the US Attorney Preet Bharara to initiate action which led to the arrest and the indignities heaped on Devyani. That's the first point. Second, the very fact that the statement issued by the State Department after Kerry's conversation with Shankar Menon stated that US laws must be upheld itself is indicative of the fact that the case will go on. The third point is that I don't think the US wants a repeat of the arrest or indignities on Devyani anymore, but they are not willing quite clearly to withdraw the case. So there are two separate issues now. We should not settle for anything less than the withdrawal of the case and a straightforward public apology at the way our Deputy Consul General has been treated. So while this may be a gesture shown by Kerry, in actual fact, it will mean something only if it's backed by action which will go in the direction of the two tests that I have mentioned, withdrawal of the cases and a public apology.
And let me take this question of bad faith to Nitin Pai. Nitin, the point that Ambassador Karju makes is that, and he's right, the State Department, for instance, knew about this arrest well before that it was going to happen, well before India did. They didn't bother to inform India, which was again violating I don't know how many conventions. Why do you think they did that? I know the Indian government has talked about a conspiracy. We've seen the US has helped the maid's family leave this country and go to the United States. What's the motive here? Still trying to figure that out, Nitin.
I think we must understand that the United States is very much a democracy like ours, where very many government agents do act in uncoordinated ways, and each government agent has a set of lobbies, customers, constituencies and stakeholders to report to. So for example, the district attorney in New York is actually hanging around in settings where there are a number of non-government organizations, lobbies, activist groups involved in helping domestic violence and protecting witnesses and so forth. So the district attorney acted in ways which is normal to the district attorney. But the problem here is that we have made the front end of India-US relations hostage to the dynamics of the office of the US district attorney, and that's the problem. So while I see as a positive sign Secretary Kerry calling our NSA or Ambassador Sherman calling our Foreign Secretary, these are evidence that there is common ground in the foreign services for better and stronger US relations. But we also have players outside the State Department and outside the US executive which are also important stakeholders in the overall scheme of things. So we can't expect the US State Department to ride roughshod over what the US the judiciary is acting on. But I think we can hope for a political compromise to evolve over the next few weeks if I think both sides are willing to
they may not be able to ride roughshod over what the attorney does, but I think the argument here has been, I'll take this to Abhishek Singhvi, the argument here has been that even if there was action that was going to be initiated, the very least that was expected under the Vienna Convention is that you inform the head of the post, and that wasn't done, and India was kept completely in the dark about this. Then the attorney's statement also, Abhishek Singhvi, so deeply patronizing. What is this talk about evacuating Indian citizens? Meghnad Desai disagrees with me. I'll come to you, Lord Desai, right after this. Dr. Singhvi.
Nidhi, I think we've heard a lot in the last 2 or 3 days about it, and I've said what I wanted to say about the treatment, and everybody understands the absolute ridiculous, high-handed nature of the treatment. But there is a legal angle to it and a judicial angle, and in my reading of the situation, that's where the fault really lies and the whole problem begins. This action is mala fide not only from the foreign side, the State Department side, but in particular from the legal side. The US District Attorney in USA runs this show much more independence and autonomy than the Indian prosecutor does. But it is extraordinary in any system of law to even initiate the kind of action which Preet Bharara has initiated, for the simple reason that there was a 6-month-old history in writing of prior litigation, criminal actions and downright court orders of India, from India, injuncting this maid servant from taking action. Now with that prior history, it is quite amazing in purely legal terms to find a prosecutor in any country, much less USA, initiating this action against a diplomat. Preet Bharara in a sentence had absolutely no business to initiate this action, because he had to evaluate the entire prior 6-month or 1-year action, legal action, written complaints by Devyani, Indian diplomat, and court orders not 1 but 3 passed by Delhi High Court and other courts in India, restraining the maid from taking any action in USA against the diplomat. So with that background, I fail to understand how any lawyer in any legal system could have gone trigger happy. At the highest, he could have initiated a show cause notice and asked for explanation.
Okay,
but
let me ask Lord Meghnad Desai why he
doesn't
disagrees.
Stand sense for any system.
Okay, Lord Desai, why do you disagree with that? Why were you shaking your head?
Okay, I have read the US legal case against Devyani Khobragade in detail. I've also read the timeline, and the State Department did tell our embassy 3 months ago that this was about to happen. It is not true that they did not say.
That's not true.
Now,
No, they did not. That's not true, sir.
Hang on. Can I finish?
Okay, finish.
Can I finish? The detailed indictment says that this woman was promised 30,000 rupees a month, which would have amounted to a slave wage of $3.30 an hour.
A slave wage.
On the visa application, she filled out $4,500, 9 times what she was going to be paid. That form was signed by Devyani Khobragade. So Devyani Khobragade knowingly falsified the information to obtain the visa for this woman. She has committed a crime under US law, and that crime cannot be withdrawn. That indictment cannot be withdrawn by anybody, including the President of the United States. Let's get this straight. United States is a law-abiding country, and once something like
India
this
is
is
not,
done,
obviously.
it has to be answered in the court of law. Come on. And so, the woman made Sangeeta Richard obviously must have gone to some NGO and complained about her treatment, which was terrible. And on basis of things, the case has been
Okay, but Lord
filed.
let me come in here and let me
there
ask
is
you this.
Very clear,
Let me ask
very
you this.
clear list
You have a
of
point.
2 crimes.
No, you have a point on the fact that there is a grey area here on whether there has been a law that has been violated, because what I have understood while covering this story, I'll tell you one second, I'll tell you why.
The law has been violated.
No, but the fact is that there are 100 other countries, developing countries in particular, who violate these laws. There's been an understanding all these years. The US State Department has looked the other way because the wages are very high. These minimum wages most countries cannot afford. But are these really slave wages? You have one important point, and I'm going to take that to Mr. Sibal first. Mr. Sibal, should governments knowingly be violating laws? Because we've known that we can't afford to pay these minimum wages, yet we encourage our diplomats to sign these contracts.
Look, before I answer this question, the per capita income in the United States is $50,000. The per capita income in India is $1,000. Now the US side says that the Indians with the per capita income of $1,000 should pay US salaries to their domestic staff where the per capita income is $50,000. Now you look at the other thing. Here in India, US embassy personnel, how much do they pay their domestic staff here in India? Do they pay them the minimum wage? Do they pay them 1,20,000 rupees per month? It's absolutely absurd. It's all humbug. It's all humbug. And a practical way was found between informal understanding between the ministry and the embassy here, that so long as the letter of the law is observed, we will give the visas, knowing fully well that the diplomats are not going to pay to the domestic servant domestic staff more than they earn themselves.
Exactly.